move that one. Tim and Andrew, Cecil banner changes for 1 year. Anyone want to speak to that? Tim?
Well, my iPad's just died, so all the information's just died on me. So, but I did read that it also included Christmas decorations. I don't have a problem at all with festivals and events having to pay to put their own banners up. I mean, they do look great, but we're in a position where we've got to be fiscally responsible. So maybe this is an opportunity for our staff to go out and try and get more sponsorship with regards to our Christmas decorations, and maybe that's a way into the future for the next few years. But I have absolutely no problem with this at the moment.
Yep. Jamie, did you have a question?
Just a question. Just what will that mean? Like tangibly, what will that look like? What banner is going to be there for the next financial year?
So don't you notice what's there at the moment?
I noticed that, well, when we have a Crusaders game, we put up the red and black ones. When there's other events, it's matched for that, obviously the Christmas ones. I just wanted to know what will be the default one for the financial year then.
But
if we
some of the events that occur, they do their own banners. So, World Cup and things like that, they will do their own banners. Yep.
Was Tim's point correct? Does this include Christmas decorations?
Yeah.
How much do we spend on Christmas decorations? It just sounds a wee bit Grinch-like.
55,000 for Christmas decorations.
55. So this is not actually banners. This is just getting rid of Christmas decorations and a few banners.
Banners and Christmas.
So that's the lion's share
Banner
actually
maintenance
of
and
this
Christmas
budget.
banners. That's right.
I don't want to be the council that cancels Christmas though.
I'm not keen either. I'm happy to get rid of the banners, not Christmas.
Well, but the Christmas one's 55 then. That's.
Sorry, guys.
But is this a time then that our staff can go out and say some of those companies are doing quite well? Would you sponsor this? I mean,
yeah.
if we keep saying, "Oh no, we can't do this, we can't cut that," we are just going to throw these rate increases back on the people that can least afford it. We have got to make some hard decisions, and we've also got to start thinking outside the box. If we allow our staff to do that, then hopefully we will achieve some savings and some better practice for the future and some better partnerships. Here's an opportunity. It's not the greatest opportunity, but we're not in a good position. So we've got to look at every penny.
Would it be possible to tie that in, that we actually specifically instruct or ask staff to investigate the possibility of sponsorship for the Christmas decorations? Because I totally understand the sentiment. We're cutting costs. I'm down for that. I'm down to be the Grinch for this term. But if there is a way to perhaps having these decorations there through sponsorship, I think that should be explored, and it certainly could be worthwhile. I'm sure there'll be a lot of companies that would be happy to contribute to this.
I'm sure the mover and second would be happy to say that staff look for sponsorship opportunities for the Christmas decorations. Yeah. Sorry, Pauline was next.
Well, no, Phil, what I'm asking is, it is specifically written in there. It's literally just what I said.
Pauline?
Surely there must be a compromise. Why can't we just muck around with that figure a wee bit and perhaps reduce the Christmas decorations by 50%? It's the council responsibility to put them up in all the little villages and in main streets everywhere. It would be a pretty grim Christmas without anything. So could we not look at just compromising there and reducing the amount?
I don't know whether we put them up and all round the place or whether it's
we
just
do,
in
yeah.
That's my exact question. A lot of the decorations were actually in Central City, on buildings that no longer exist.
Yeah.
So my question is that $50,000, is that an historical amount of money that was put in for putting up decorations? Or is it...
I'm afraid the conversation's gone so deep into the operational organisation that any questions on this I'm going to have to come back on.
Yeah, so can we park this one and get some further information? I mean, I'm just going to make the point that it's not our money, it's not us that, I mean, do we rate the taxpayers, 0.02%, or it'd be slightly under that for 55,000 in order to put up Christmas decorations? I don't think that the people of Christchurch would say that that was a reasonable return. But let's move on to the Awatea route upgrade brought forward, which we had a passionate plea from Jimmy Chen on. Yes. And Jimmy Chen would like to move it, and I think Vicky Buck would like to second it.
And And all I'd say without the 8 reasons is that there's no cost to it and it brings it forward a year in an area where there is huge growth and huge pressure on the road system.
And we've already heard from Councillor Chen, so I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. Well done. The next one is the library opening hours, and that was moved by Yanni Johansson and seconded by Paul Lonsdale. Yanni's already spoken to that one, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Sorry.
Aye.
Aye?
Is this to bring them back to their existing?
Yeah. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. So do we need to do the Pioneer? We've already done that in the other one, so just wipe that one. And this is simply to, do we have to do this one as well in the sense that we do? Okay.
Yes,
So
this is reducing the previous one.
okay, so we're not
Appendix A.
reducing it because we're reducing the amount that we're spending. We're reducing our estimates of what it will cost us.
That's right.
Based on the actual numbers of people who've applied so far. Yep. Well, are you moving it?
I'll move it.
You move it, and seconded by Tim Scandrett. Yep.
I just wanted to clarify that. My understanding is now we've got really clear data on which houses will be likely to receive that rates remission, whereas previously the estimate was
That's
made
right.
that
Yes.
allow us to change the estimate.
That's right.
Good. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. And this is the same for this one. So who would like to move that we reduce the public realm remission budget? Yanni, and seconded by Andrew. This is also a reduction on the assumptions in terms of how much the remission of rates on the public realm return to the city in the course of the. Is that right? That is it public realm that's returned to the city in the course of the year?
It's the frame. It's the land within the frame that will become part of the public realm.
So, which is actually less than we thought that it was originally. We thought that there was going to be a much bigger public realm within the frame.
Yes, we based it on some outdated information.
Right. Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. So, is there? Are we able to go back? Have we? Which is there any? Yep.
I think if we could go back to the heritage grants and have a discussion on that, see if we're in a position to make a call on that.
Okay.
And if it was possible through you, Madam Mayor, to invite Helen Beaumont to the table.
Yep.
So Helen would just like to talk to the suggestion on the table around heritage grants and offer an alternative for consideration as well.
So in response to Councillor Johansson's question, I understand that this reduction is out of the Heritage Incentive Grant, which is set at $763,000 per annum, and that's the grant that provides a subsidy, if you like, to the conservation of heritage fabric during the repairs and maintenance of buildings. And that is oversubscribed at the moment because, of course, repairs are in full swing following the earthquakes. And this grant was not increased, so it's at the same level as it was in peacetime, if you like, despite that extra demand on it. One of the other possibilities, if there is to be a further reduction in grants, is to look again at the Arts Centre grant. The Arts Centre had 800,000 per year, and we reduced that to 400,000 per year coming into the annual plan deliberations. And the reason for that was that the Arts Centre is on a very good sustainable footing and has reorganised their board and the way that they propose to run that site. So from the point of view of the heritage team, the Arts Centre is not at risk, as it were, in the way that these other buildings that are supported through the Heritage Incentive Grant are indeed at risk.
Just a comment on that, I wouldn't feel comfortable supporting that because we didn't flag that in the draft and give them an opportunity to submit. And we have, as you say, we have cut their funding considerably. So it's not a question of whether they can wear it or not. We haven't given them the opportunity to come back to us, so I don't feel comfortable about that. Sorry.
Ali and then Paul.
Look, I'd support what Pauline has just said, and again, I think the issue there is that they may have already budgeted for that money and planned accordingly, and I think that would be unfair and not professional to follow that through at this stage.
Paul?
I think the Arts Centre, to be fair to say, will be one of the most significant buildings we have left in the city, and I would really hate to see that actually compromised by a further reduction in their grant. I mean, we've already slashed that budget significantly, and to take it away altogether, I think is actually going to be a wrong move.
So I don't think that there's support for reducing the heritage grants, and I don't think that there's support for the alternative. So I'm not 100% sure how we proceed with this. Well, we'll just vote on it, I suppose. Yeah. So,
how much actually is in the Heritage Grants Fund at the moment?
763,000. So this reduces it to 500,000.
And how much have we?
It's oversubscribed, is what we've just heard.
We have the actual figures by how much is oversubscribed, and.
Well, I can tell you that last year we handed out around 1 million out of this fund, and the reason that we handed out more than the annual allocation is that during the period following the earthquakes, a lot of money that had been allocated was given back to council because those buildings were demolished or became completely uneconomic to retain. So we have had extra money, if you like, in the last year, but we still haven't been able to meet all of the demand.
Clear, how much is in the fund going forward and how much was intended to put into the fund in this coming year?
The allocation is 763,000 per year.
Yep, and how much is currently there?
Nothing. We've spent it all.
Zero, right.
So the 763 is what would be available.
And what would the impact of having just $500,000 allocated in the next budget? What would the impact of that be?
Given the size, the average size of the grants at the moment, that would mean approximately 7 or 8 buildings that would miss out on a grant. So there'd be 7 or 8 either houses or small commercial buildings that would miss out on a grant.
So what's the average size of a grant? Sorry.
It's around 55,000 at the moment. Historically, they've been much smaller, but following the earthquakes, there's been substantial work needed, obviously, on these buildings.
And these are to private houses as well?
Some of them are to private houses, some of them are to community groups and trusts that own heritage buildings, and some of them are to commercial buildings. So they're to listed heritage buildings.
Ali?
With regards to the Arts Centre and what's proposed up there, just to clarify, what will that mean, if anything, to the Arts Centre? Because that money's already been allocated, so we can assume that they are getting their money, so it's the others that haven't been allocated yet that would be affected by this reduction.
The Arts Centre was put up as an alternative, not as part of this. So, does anyone want to move that we reduce the heritage grants by 1 year by 263,000 to Tim, Ali. So is there any debate on that? Yanni?
I don't support doing this. I think, in the absence of a heritage recovery program or plan from central government that we're still waiting for, given the pressure on our existing heritage infrastructure and the constant loss of unique heritage buildings, I think reducing this fund even more is absolutely the wrong signal to be sending. I would suggest if you want to take this money off, you're better taking it out of that Historic Places Fund, which has been sitting there untouched for a few years. But I don't support reducing the Heritage Incentives grants. I think it's an incredibly important and vital tool to encouraging people to retain heritage in our city. And when we've lost so much, I think it's absolutely the wrong signal to be sending. So I won't support it. And I hope that we could maybe, again, look at that Historic Places Fund if that was the desire. That would bring it down to, and I would say 250, so that would bring it down to about 750,000 remaining in that instead of $1 million. So
could someone do some work over that as an alternative? Because I don't know what adjustment that would make to the budget, because that could be a solution that people could live with. So rather than carry on the debate on something that might, Councillor Johansson may have actually just come up with a neat solution. So
it sounds like that would be possible.
Okay, so why don't we break for lunch or no, wait a minute.
It depends how close we are. So if we're close, we'll need an hour or so to run the decimals or the background information. If we're close to where we need to be, and we can finish, then we can do that over the lunch break.
Is it possible to take this 263,000 from the Historic Places Fund instead?
Or 250. So we change it to the 500,000 to 750,000, which leaves 750,000 in that fund.
Yes.
So if but that still leaves the sister city one to address.
Okay, we've got some more information on that.
Okay.
So did we do that, or
sorry?
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Are we not robbing Peter to pay Paul with it?
No.
One's undersubscribed.
One's
so
undersubscribed and one's oversubscribed.
And one's
it's a question of where the money comes from. So for this, so I think. So let's just. Do you want to address the sister cities?
Yes. Okay. Firstly, the increase, the 88,000 increase, is to cover the Earthquake Memorial Service and the centenary of the Anzac Day service, both of which are next year, so there's extra money in the budget for those. As regards the sister city budget itself, it's, as I said before, there's 12,500, which is for when people come to visit us. We host them and pay their accommodation, and the other is for travel out, and the remaining 86 is for grants. And from speaking to Catherine, it would appear most of that is actually committed. So we can cut back on the travel budget if you are not intending to either invite people or travel. We could make that saving, but we probably, on reflection, should leave the balance of the grants.
Okay, so well, that requires a bit more work done on that, because I mean we can't end all of the travel budgets when we don't know whether the people have already committed to coming to New Zealand, coming to Christchurch, and that we may have indicated that we have resources available to do that. So, but I think that the clear message that we want to give is that we want to rewrite our sister cities policy so that it enables us to reflect the financial position that the council's in, and that will mean a change to the travel budget. But I don't know that we can make a final decision on it at this amount of money at this moment.
No, I would agree with you. Yes.
So, okay.
Leanne, it seems like if we can take the 250,000 off the Historic Places Fund, then we've got a plus 13,000 there. The other one that we've got, the Sister City one, sounds actually practically impossible to achieve if people are already booked, and you can't stop an Anzac Day service or an earthquake memorial service. So I would suggest that we maybe don't take that one off. And the other one on the banner changes, I'm assuming we own the Christmas decorations and it's a matter of just putting them up.
Again, I would be guessing.
Okay, so if we looked at cutting 50 instead of 75 off that, my hunch is that we're 133k away from this target, which would be 7 point.
So my suggestion would be if you do on a banner change for 1 year of 50, that I go away and run the numbers to see if I come back with a flat rate of 7.5 after lunch.
No, you won't. Yep. It'll be slightly higher.
But it may be that we can find some
lunchtime savings.
Lunchtime. Yeah.
Target of under 7.6 then. Might make it a little bit easier. Between 7.5 and 7.6.
If I can get that the voting on the banner, then I can go away and run the numbers and see what we come back with.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I mean, I would vote for the whole of the banner reduction. I mean, I don't actually agree that we should be spending money on Christmas decorations when we're in the situation that we're in. That's my view.
Bah humbug.
I don't really care if I'm described as the mayor that stole Christmas, because at the end of the day, that's not what makes Christmas. The decorations in the street, our city is damaged and ruined, and to put decorations around them in its state that it's in, I just think that it's a waste of money compared to what people are really expecting of us. But that's my particular point of view. So,
what we actually spent last year, because the city wasn't any less damaged last year. I would like to know that, because we must own the Christmas decorations. They must be stored in a cupboard somewhere. It would be much nicer if they were out at Christmas time.
There's two possibilities of doing this. One is that actually we have companies that through CCHL that might like to give a little bit of a lift to the city, given that they're, they've either got cherry pickers or they've got prominent locations. So, and then the other thing is, given that CCDU and Sarah own a lot of the central city, surely, and they've got huge communications budgets, huge events and festivals budgets, surely we could have a conversation with them about whether it's something that they wish to do. They put up a whole, I think it's them, there's a whole bunch of rebuild Christchurch zones signs gone up without any, I mean, I don't know where they came from, but they obviously have some money aside for these things. So I think there's a way forward. That doesn't mean we have to keep picking up the cost. The only concern I have is we've got major events happening next year, and if we have old and pretty tatty looking banners hanging up, when people are coming into the city, it isn't a really good look. So there needs to be some consideration given to how that program, especially next year with the major events, is organised. And I think probably it requires a report to council over how we can do it.
Tim.
That's kind of what I said before. I mean, international cricket, etc. Whose responsibility? Who's paying to put their? Well, I think we've got to find other ways to do it. You just said that Sarah, etc. have got Central City. We've just got to think outside the box. We do have to make savings right across the board. We're looking at that now. I'm just wondering if the Heritage Places Fund is underutilised and there's money sitting there. There's no use having money sitting there if it's not going to be used. So if we're going to try to put 7.5, or start 7.5, maybe we can take more than 750 out of that. I mean, I don't know. But
I would suggest that that one's possibly appropriate and at the right level. But on the banners, the special events banners have to be funded by the special events. So that's there and clear. Any other information? Okay. The way I would suggest you might be able to close this out is voting on the 75 and whether that's been removed with an expectation that staff will be looking for sponsorship. I'm sure that sponsorship would come with some hooks, of course, the Acme Christmas banner.
Well, we do.
But
So-
great suggestions around going to chat with other entities as well. So you know, if we could vote on whether the 75 is gone and suggest that staff look to address that with interaction with other organisations.
We'll vote on it.
So, well, do you want to do that by way of a vote on the record? Yep. Yep.
I'd like to fully endorse the comments that the Mayor made on this. Many years ago, when I was at school, and it was a few years ago, I'll keep it quick. We had a piece of paper, we drew a line down the middle, we put luxuries on one side and essentials on the other. And we've had a lot of conversation over the last few days about luxuries and essentials, and flags and Christmas decorations are definitely luxuries. Even in a business as usual situation, they're nice to haves. This is definitely not a business as usual situation, and I think we need to make an appropriate decision around this. And you know, if I was a person looking at a rates increase or having the council put Christmas decorations and banners up, and in fact as a resident of the city I know what I would absolutely prefer. So I think it's that luxuries and essentials debate, and this is one that's certainly one of the luxuries, one of the nice to haves.
Yanni?
Look, I think it's a shame that it's been painted as you either do it or you don't. I actually think it really needs to happen. I think what we need to do, though, is we really need to get some creative minds together around what we're doing next year. Again, I just want to re-emphasise, I hope councillors do not underestimate the eyes of the world will be on us as a city. And it is embarrassing. The lack of progress in terms of things in the central city is an embarrassment. We have major events happening next year because we thought we would have a convention centre, we thought we would have hotels, we thought we would have a lot more progress than we have, and that was the reason for having these events. Now, given that the progress has been slow, I think it's really important that we actually have a presentable city to the people that are coming next year, and I think it's also incredibly uplifting for residents and people that live here, that when they go through areas that are run down and haven't been fixed, that there are things that give people a sense of hope, a sense of optimism, and just think about the powerful impact that the people that flowers and road cones had on this city. Those little small reminders that highlight a positive and highlight the colour and the culture of the city, please don't underestimate those. They have a huge role to play in people's feeling good about being in a city, despite all the horrible stuff that's happening, despite all the negative things that people in the city is going through. So I think there's a way of doing this that isn't either do it or you don't. I think we need to find ways of doing this. If we take the money off budget now, which I'm okay with, as long as we can set up a working party to look at how we're promoting the city for next year, then I think that's really important. So we signal that we're committed to looking at how we can actually promote the city through sponsorship, through creative partnerships around what we need to do. So
Yep.
I think it's just
I'm really happy for the motion to also say, after that, staff look for sponsorship opportunities for Christmas decorations, and that Councillor Johansson lead a working party on with staff and other councillors who wish to be involved on that, on how to make the most of. How to ensure that we present a good face to the world next year. Yeah. Yeah. To how we are prepared for 2015 international events to be held in our city. Yep. All right. So it's Pauline, David, and then Ali.
Thank you, Nan. I've got nothing to add. I was going to say pretty much what Yanni was saying, that we do need these things to lift us. That I was supportive of the money going to the banner, the Christmas decorations, but I support finding other ways to do that, and it could well involve communities, and it could actually have a really good outcome. So,
So, David?
Yes, I was just going to say I totally support Andrew's comments. We have to look at the niceties versus the essentials, and also Yanni's point on moving forward to present a good face for international competitions. So I will support the motion as it's written now.
Ellie?
Just very quickly, I endorse what Andrew said as well, and David just said, I do not believe that a few banners hanging around a broken city as it is at the moment is going to make any difference whatsoever. I'd like to see communities involved with this. I think where this discussion has gone with what Yanni has suggested is exactly the right direction we should go in.
Yep. Vicky?
I don't see that all of us see the world as luxuries and necessities, and I especially don't see it that a 6-year-old child will see it in that way. I think that Christmas decorations are actually really important, and they are, for kids, part of the magic of Christmas. So I really don't want us to get into this is luxuries, this is necessities, and view it through adult eyes. I think actually they are really important. I am okay with going with Yanni's suggestion, but I think this is a ridiculous cut in terms of we have the Christmas decorations in the cupboard. All that we are doing is not taking them out and putting them up, which is just daft, actually. And actually, when you look at what you want in a city, part of it is just people coming together and looking at lights and all those sorts of things. And that's not... I don't want the Christmas decorations actually sponsored by companies. I want Christmas to be devoid of that, and I don't regard it as a religious festival. I just regard it as something that brings people together. I don't want to lose that. So I would be happy to take half of this off and just bring them out of the cupboard and do something with them, or do it completely differently so that communities are doing their own and we make our decorations available. But I simply cannot see the world in Christchurch at the moment as luxury necessity. There is another thing in there called hope and community coming together and all sorts of things that does not capture in any way, shape or form.
Paul?
I totally agree with Vicky on this here. I mean, it is part of the magic, but I'd like to point out, I take Yanni's point that the eyes of the world are looking at us next year. In actual fact, the eyes of the world are looking at us right now. We're in a rebuild. We've had one of the major devastations throughout the world, and we're rebuilding a city, and the eyes of the world are looking at us now. So whatever we do from when the earthquake happened a few years back to what we're going to do in the future, they're looking at us now. So I think it's important, everything we do from here on, and it's going to make the difference going forward. So I support keeping the decorations up. I also support, though, keeping that figure in the budget, but actually looking at opportunities how we can reduce it.
Phil?
Look, I support what Vicky's been saying too, and like there are lots of places, especially around celebration times, down our not main streets, but roads like Lincoln Road and South Colombo Street, where in fact kids do go to these days. It's part of our city, and so and I'm hoping and expecting that Yanni's recommendation works. Because to me it's essential that we actually have things like Christmas decorations and banners that actually look good, that we have them up. So I guess I will support it, assuming that in fact this process works.
All right.
Do you mind if I speak to that?
Jamie?
Quite interesting listening to this debate, because I don't think there's anything that any one person here has said that I actually disagree with. Of course, there are the nice to haves versus the need to haves. The thing, though, that I also think is true, and that statement is entirely correct, there are also things, life isn't black and white here. There is also not one thing that makes our city recovered. There is not one aspect necessarily that means that we're the city that we want to be. You know, I said in the past, we haven't recovered because we have the greatest flushing toilets in the southern hemisphere. By not doing this doesn't mean that everything else will be done. People will still be where they want to be. We still need to have people here. We still have to have young people that have a bit of hope in this place, just like Vicky was saying. And finding somewhere in the middle, I think, is where I'd like to be with this. What I'd actually like to do is I'm going to vote against taking that out of the budget, because I think what we always forget, actually, is that it's not compulsory to spend it all. I want to have that working party there, but let's have that working party that says, how can we work a little bit smarter? Do you know what? It doesn't mean that you have to spend $75,000 exactly. You can actually spend $30,000, and if we can have an intelligent conversation and say, how can we do things a little bit more efficiently than how we have in the past? How can we think outside of the square? That's good. But let's not cut Christmas right now. Let's not find more reasons why the place is a sucky place. Just because it doesn't look great here doesn't mean that we have to even make it even uglier. I think that the little bits that we can do are great, and if we can find some savings there, I'm entirely supportive of that. So I'm actually going to vote against taking it out of the budget, but I want to involve myself with the working party of working a little bit smarter about how we can be a little bit more efficient too to get the same results.
Well, I'm going to support the resolution because I think that council staff doing things for communities doesn't create community spirit. I think giving communities the opportunity to work together to find solutions to something like decorating their areas, I think I'd much rather be supporting that. So of course we want Christmas decorations in our streets, but I think that we would be bringing our communities together and enabling that to happen in a far more strategic way by making the decorations that we have available to those communities rather than doing it for them. So I really am grateful to Councillor Johansson for finding a way forward for how we go next year, but I would actually invite him to look at that whole question of the Christmas decorations as well. So so I was going to suggest that staff look for sponsorship, because I think they should still look for sponsorship opportunities for Christmas decorations. It's to put them up, it's not to buy them, and that Councillor Johansson leading a working party, blah blah blah, on alternative, so who wish to be involved on alternatives. No, after who wish to be involved on alternatives to providing Christmas decorations and on how we're prepared. So it's both of them. Oh, yes, that's right, yeah. The 2015 events to be held in Christchurch. So take out the word international, you're quite right. All right, so I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. And is that just Vicky Buck and Jamie Goff and Paul Lonsdale opposed? Thank you very much, that's carried. So is there anything else that you need a steer on from us?
Not at this point, thank you.
Yanni?
I finally found the Burnside Rugby Football Club Incorporated submission, and it's a really minor thing that they've asked for, but it's part of the fees and charges which we haven't really discussed, and they asked for a new classification that covers non-affiliated sporting clubs that organise and conduct an internal tournament module of at least 10 weeks be included into the casual hire fee. I think it's a really sensible thing. They did a huge amount of work to actually come up with the wording.
Sir, can you point me towards the reference?
So it's volume 3, page 26. So just between now and as we come back after lunch, just signal a slight amendment to the fees and charges, which is really probably more of a semantic thing.
And David East has got a fees and charges one to move as well.
Wanted.
Yeah, so...
And I think you might have to pass a resolution around the Daimler as well.
Oh, do we want to do that before lunch?
Why not?
Okay, well, we have a resolution in relation to the mayoral Daimler.
I like that one.
So, I wish to inform Council that in 1996, in fact the 27th of November 1996, Christchurch City Council passed a resolution on the disposal of the Daimler limousine. And it was resolved that the mayoral Daimler be retained as an important part of the city's civic history, and that the vehicle be offered to the RNZAF Air Force Museum at Wigram by way of loan, with the council retaining ownership of the vehicle. The RNZAF Museum does not want the mayoral limousine. The Ferrymead doesn't want the mayoral limousine. I'm not prepared to suggest what its value is, because in disposing of it, we may wish to find somebody who regards it as having a significant value, and so in order for this to occur, we actually have to rescind the 1996 resolution. But I mean, on a serious note, we are paying for its storage, and I still don't quite know how much we're paying for its storage. I don't know, Brendan, if you can help us out there. Right. Okay. So. Actually, but there was an earlier resolution to dispose of it, and on the. Oh, they changed their mind. So actually, they resolved to sell it. So going back to the 28th of August 1996, it was that the Daimler be advertised throughout New Zealand for sale by tender, with a suitable reserve price being fixed by the Plant and Building Services manager, was declared carried as the substantive motion. But then obviously they regretted that and then passed the subsequent motion that it be retained as an important part of the city's civic history. So somebody thought it had an important role to play in our history. As the only former mayor sitting around the table, Vicky Buck, perhaps you'd like to. But actually, I'm just wondering if to overturn a previous council decision, don't we need a written report from the So I'm going to foreshadow a motion, because as long as I write it or the chief executive writes it, we can rescind the motion. But I think that I mean it's probably a little lightness to raise it here, but this has been kind of sitting on our books for a long period of time, and I actually think that we need to make a decision to get rid of it. Yep.
I think there was a further resolution or some sort of decision or memo when the former mayor brought it out of storage as well. So you just need to go back and check in recent history what decisions, if any, or what the mayor has decided. And the other thing I was going to suggest is that whatever happens, it would be quite nice for it to have a bit of a farewell tour, and I thought actually putting it in our atrium.
It doesn't work.
And just put it.
I think we're going to have to sell it on an as-is, where-is basis.
Creative to see it.
What about actually a charity auction, where you could actually get considerably well above its actual true value to someone who actually wants us to help donate?
That's true. I don't think that we should fix a methodology necessarily, but we'll come back after lunch with final. We get some from somebody, but I think that there's a suggestion that the actual. That what we do obtain is seen as a sort of a charitable contribution, perhaps to the mayoral earthquake fund, and that would be quite a neat way of getting some value for the city, but at the same time, I think creating a bit of a focus on the mayoral earthquake fund. Yeah. But anyway, we'll come. We'll come back
Money
after
could go
lunch.
towards Christmas.
Because I think from a technical point of view, we do have to have a written report in the name of either the Chief Executive or the Mayor in order to overturn a previous resolution of the Council.
The report doesn't cost more than the...
The report will just be a very short one. So is there anything else that we need to determine before lunch?
Yes, there is. The discussion we had earlier around reducing the Historic Places Fund. So you approved the 500, and then we talked about increasing that to 750, but there wasn't actually a formal vote on that.
So how much does that then produce by way of rates impact?
We need, once we've done that, we can go away and do the resolution, but half of 0.15, so somewhere around 7.075 is the additional 250.
Right. So, right, Vicky Buck. Well, actually, no, we already had... Oh, no, that's right. Vicky Buck and Tim Scandrett. I'll put that motion...
Just clarify, so we're still looking at reducing that fund by 500?
No, 750. It's increasing that. It's increasing the 500,000 to 750. Yeah, so we're just altering that to 750,000.
The remaining 13,000, is that going to impact on us much?
I'm going to go away and have a look soon and come back after lunch.
So we'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Carried. And we, Councillor Scandrett and Jones, withdraw the motion below. Yeah. So that's just withdrawn. Yeah. So that is not carried. Yeah. Okay. So is there anything else that you need a decision on? And now, how long do you need? An hour. So we'll reconvene at 1:45. Okay. All right. So we're adjourned till 1:45. Thank you.
That's good.